Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. We're back at it, ready to have some fun with Broadleaf Whiskey Company. Yes, Broadleaf, new and upcoming brand. But before we dive into it today, today's episode is sponsored by our good friends over at Zbiotics. So I talked about Zbiotics on numerous occasions, and honestly, this is an easy company for me to kind of promote, if you will, because it's a product that I truly do believe in. So essentially, Zbiotics it's a pre-alcohol probiotic. It was genetically engineered and very simple. You just drink one bottle right before you're about to consume alcohol. So again, when you think about Zbiotics, I think about when do I use it? For example, recently, actually just this past week, last week rather, I did a barrel pick with my good friends with SLB Drinks, as well as Stuff and Whiskey. We did a barrel pick of Frey Ranch. I knew I was going to be consuming, a good bit of whiskey that evening. So right before we went live, I went ahead and I used one of my Zbiotics bottle because it only takes one bottle. So let me go ahead and grab one real quick. It only takes one bottle, so that's all you need. The cool thing is, if you do order from Zbiotics, they have a variety of different options. They have a 3-pack, a 6-pack, so definitely check them out. But it's very simple. You just take one bottle out, shake it up, remove the wrapper. Just gonna unpill this bad boy. Take it and just consume the one bottle. Voila. That's it. Very simple. Just do that right before you're about to consume alcohol. And the end goal is to, obviously, of course, to avoid those rough next mornings. No one likes to wake up and have like that feeling, if you will. So that's essentially it. If you're interested in Zbiotics, definitely go directly to the website at zbiotics.com/TheBourbonJudge, and you'll actually get 15% off on your first order, or just go directly to the website at zbiotics.com. Order, buy whatever you want to buy, but then at checkout, of course, definitely do use my code TheBourbonJudge in order to get 15% off on your first order. All right, my friends, I've had my Zbiotics, feeling good, and I'm now ready to dive into some Broadleaf whiskey. Here we go. All right, we are back for Express Court. So we have Broadleaf Whiskey Company. So Broadleaf Whiskey Company. So this is truly a new and up-and-coming brand. So this is one where I actually heard about this brand from one of my patrons, one of my good friends, my buddy Nick Massey. Nick was like, "Judge, have you heard of Broadleaf Whiskey Company?" And particularly, their whiskey, their bourbon, and their rye called Brothers of the Leaf. I was like, I have not. So he sent me a sample of it, and I was like, all right, this is not bad. And I went hunting, I went looking for it. Wasn't able to find it, but luckily Broadleaf Whiskey Company sent me some samples for me to review on the channel. So thank you very much, Broadleaf Whiskey Company. So when you think about this brand, I'm going to pour both of these, the bourbon and the rye. Short and sweet. These are two friends that, they both love bourbon or whiskey, and they also love cigars. So Brian, one of the owners, was the whiskey guy from Kentucky, has a whole bunch of connections, really understands whiskey. And then you have Paul. Paul was the cigar guru. And as we all know, when you think of bourbon and whiskey and cigars, they go hand in hand, right? I mean, they truly do go hand in hand. So Brian and Paul were like, let's start our own brand, our own company, and voila, here we are today. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour a little bit of this. So for now, Broadleaf Whiskey Company, or in this case, their actual brand itself, Brothers of the Leaf, they are pretty much sourcing their whiskey. For now. They are doing some contract distilling as well, but when you start off, of course, whenever you're contract distilling, it takes a long time before those barrels that you've laid down actually, have aged and are ready to be sold to the public. So for now, they're of course contracting distilling, and they're working with all the big players in the industry, all that we could think of: Indiana, MGP, several different distilleries in Kentucky, and then of course, obviously down in Tennessee as well. More than likely, I would assume probably Dickel. But it's all about whether or not, if their end goal, which I believe it what it was, to be able to create a great whiskey, bourbon and rye that goes well with and without a cigar. So let's see how it is. Again, I had a very small sample from my buddy Nick Massey. That was definitely really good, but this is a different batch, and I'm waiting to see how this one kind of shakes up. Ready? All right. Let's get into it real quick. So let's dive into the bourbon first. So as it says here on the front, so this is straight bourbon whiskey finished in toasted French oak cask. This one's coming in at 115.4 proof. So 115.4 proof. All right, there we go. Now, MSRP for both of these, really, about $85, $90, depending on where you're getting them from, about $85 to $90. I will say, if you go directly to their website, you will actually see like a map, and more than likely, you can find their products if you live in or near Kentucky. Or you can go directly online and just go directly to Bourbon Outfitters, and you can find their products easily online at Bourbon Outfitters. No honey needed, just go directly online if you're willing to give it a try and grab a bottle. All right, so the bourbon, again, finished in toasted French oak cask. They give the mash bill here, which thank you again, by the way, for being very upfront and transparent. 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. Here we go. And this one's coming in at 115.74 proof. All right, I'm sorry, 115.4 proof. 115.4 proof. Here we go. So in the nose, that toasted French oak is like, wow. That's like everything coming through in the nose. It very much reminds me of almost like when you're making like French toast, like the cinnamon, the caramel. Once the French toast is done, you put a little bit of like maple syrup on it. That's this nose by far. Extremely sweet for sure. Oh man, really nice. A little bit of caramel, a little bit of pepper back there as well, kind of hidden. A little bit of pepper, a little bit of caramel. Definitely a lot more sweet than it is spicy though, for sure. All right, $90, a new brand, Brothers of the Leaf. Does it go well with or without a cigar? Now I've had this, because as you can tell, there was a little bit already missing. I already had this with the cigar, so I'll tell you that on the back end. All right, here we go, friends. Cheers, everybody. Wow. So number one, everything from the nose matches the palate. Those notes are like the French toast kind of notes, like the cinnamon, the caramel, maple syrup with a little bit of pepper, a little bit of the kick to it. That lasts throughout the palate, and it's a nice long finish, but it's not like a gut kind of knock you out finish either. It's very nice and very just extremely very pleasant all the way from start to finish. Coming in at 115.4 proof, you never know exactly what you're going to get. Now, I will say I've had this with a cigar, and I'm going to give you a verdict with and without a cigar. Cool? All right. The verdict is in. This, my friends, is a buy, and it's good with or without a cigar. I'm going to tell you what this reminds me of. This reminds me of a lot of one product in particular. Lucky 7, the Frenchman, the French toast oak finish. It reminds me of that. Like, I'm talking like they could be like twin brothers, literally. This is fantastic, and I mean, it is actually really damn good. So I will give Brian and Paul credit for this batch here. And I think this is batch 1, right? Yeah, batch 1. This is really, really good, honestly. To me, that is definitely worth the $90 price point. Understand, obviously, a little bit more expensive because it is a newer brand, so there's obviously a lot more expenses. But to me, that is flat out really, really damn good. So great job there. Before I move over to the rye whiskey, a couple questions, or a couple favors, I should say. Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, drop me a comment. Have you ever tried Brothers of the Leaf bourbon or rye? And last but not least, go ahead, hit the subscribe button as well as the bell so you get notification each and every time I release new content. Cool? All right. Here we go. Now we're moving over to the rye. So same thing, primarily available in Kentucky. You can go directly to the website to find it, or you can go directly to Bourbon Outfitters. Also coming in at exactly $90. Now the rye is slightly different. How so, Judge? So this one's actually finished. The rye whiskey is finished in toasted white oak cask. So not French, but just toasted white oak cask. This one's coming in at 119.2 proof. All right, and yep, same thing. Distilled Indiana. Oh, this one's okay. Calls it out. Distilled in Indiana and then finished in Kentucky. All right. So this is a 95.5 rye. So 95% rye whiskey, 5% malted barley in the mash bill. All right. Here we go, folks. Woo. This is a peppery. This is a peppery beast right here, boy. Wow. I was expecting, because it was finished in that toasted toasted oak, I was expecting that it would be a little bit sweeter in the nose. Potentially. Not as sweet as this one, because that French is like way overboard. But with this one, I was expecting a little bit more sweetness. In the nose, I'm getting a lot. I mean, very peppery, very floral, smidge of mint, just a little bit, a very soft sweetness, almost like a soft, like kind of a caramel note, but this very minty, very peppery, wow, and very floral. All right, 119.2 proof. Here we go, Brothers of the Leaf, the rye whiskey. Cheers, everybody. Oh yeah, and that had a very nice long finish. Very bold, very vibrant, long finish. What's interesting about this, it too, the nose matches the palate. It's extremely peppery, extremely floral, and a little bit of mint as well. And I get it, it's a rye whiskey, which is traditional. What's odd about it is that the finishing, the toasted white oak cask, that little bit of sweetness that you think would come through from the toasted from the cask, that's not there at all. So if I had to give a judgment on the rye whiskey and just kind of comparing them to, the judgment is in. This, the rye whiskey, is a no buy. It's a do not buy. You guys know me. I'm always going to keep it real. I will say this. It's not that I dislike it. I just think that there are a lot of other rye whiskeys on the market that are similar to it that you can probably find a little bit cheaper. And to me, honestly, it tastes like a standard regular rye whiskey. It doesn't even taste like it was finished in the toasted white oak cask. So maybe it wasn't finished long enough. It was good, just wasn't remarkable, at least to buy at $90. This, the bourbon, if you're shopping for both of these, you see both of them either in the shelf or online at Bourbon Outfitters. If you're buying one of them, hands down, the bourbon is absolutely fantastic. And like I said, it reminds me of the Lucky 7 Frenchman. That is hands down delicious. All right, my friends, till the next time, peace, cheers, and most important, salute. Take care.